Coronation Street viewers believe that Megan's unexpected killer may have already been subtly revealed, as the show continues to build tension toward its upcoming murder storyline. On the surface level, it initially appeared that Sam Blakeman had emerged victorious in his ongoing conflict with Megan Walsh within Coronation Street. The exceptionally intelligent and observant young boy was, in fact, the only individual who sensed that something was deeply wrong with the seemingly respectable sports coach and her unusually close relationship with her student, Will Driscoll. To the rest of the Weatherfield community, however, Megan was viewed as a respectable and admirable figure, someone who contributed positively to education and had even charmed Daniel Osborne with her outwardly kind and polished personality. Sam, however, was not fooled by her carefully constructed facade and managed to see beyond the illusion that had deceived everyone else around him. When he discovered Will's sweater in Megan's possession, it immediately heightened his suspicions and made him fully aware that something inappropriate was taking place. And despite both Megan and Will attempting to dismiss his concerns, he remained firmly determined to uncover the truth. Sam recognized the predatory nature hidden beneath Megan's seemingly perfect exterior, and when Megan realized that Sam could not be manipulated or persuaded in the same way as her other victims, she began to unleash the full extent of her cruelty toward him. Megan is portrayed as a calculating predator who possesses an almost instinctive ability to identify vulnerabilities in her victims, allowing her to exploit their weaknesses and systematically break them down. Her campaign against Sam began by deliberately sabotaging his academic performance, targeting something that had always been a source of pride and identity for the academically driven boy. By undermining his school achievements and damaging his reputation, she effectively started to erode a crucial part of who he was, ultimately pushing him toward using ADHD medication in an attempt to enhance his focus and maintain his academic standing. Despite Sam's desperate attempts to convince Will to recognize the reality of his toxic relationship with Megan, Will remained completely under her influence and was unwilling to listen, even as he struggled internally with guilt over how far she was willing to go to silence Sam. In fact, Will went as far as to assist Megan in continuing her efforts to sabotage Sam, further deepening the boy's isolation and distress. When Sam secretly planted a camera inside Megan's flat in order to gather evidence against her, Megan appeared almost entertained by his attempt to expose her actions. In a calculated display of control and manipulation, she staged a scenario in which Will openly confessed his love for her, while she calmly and politely rejected him, creating misleading footage that painted her in a positive light. Knowing that Sam would return to retrieve the recording device, Megan deliberately waited for him, taking clear pleasure in revealing her malicious intentions and explaining how she would twist the situation to make him appear like a disturbed voyeur attempting to spy on her. She made it explicitly clear that if he continued to challenge her, she would completely destroy his life, and her unsettling confidence indicated that she would not only carry out her threats, but would take satisfaction in doing so. As Sam continued to rely on ADHD medication, his physical and mental health began to deteriorate, and following a tense confrontation involving Megan and Toya Battersby, he ultimately collapsed. Perhaps realizing that she had pushed him dangerously far, Megan followed him to the hospital, where she continued to intimidate and threaten him, unaware that Leanne Battersby, Sam's stepmother, had witnessed the encounter. Overwhelmed by fear and Megan's repeated warnings that no one would believe him, Sam finally confided in Leanne, revealing everything he had endured at Megan's hands. It did not take long for the truth to spread, and soon the entire family became aware that Megan had been abusing Will. Will's father, Ben, along with his stepmother, Eva Price, reported Megan to the authorities, while his grandmother, Maggie, confronted her directly, leading to further emotional turmoil within the family, especially as Will continued to defend Megan and refused to cooperate. Leanne remained steadfast in her promise to protect Sam, And although Megan lost her ability to directly torment him once he began reclaiming control, the psychological damage she inflicted left lasting scars. In recent developments, Sam has begun experiencing disturbing hallucinations, both visual and auditory in nature, many of which manifest as threats to his personal safety. His growing paranoia has intensified significantly, particularly after Hope Stape suggested that Daniel might still be secretly working with Megan as part of a hidden plan for revenge. This suspicion led Sam to confront Will, though Will later told Eva and Maggie that he had no understanding of what Sam was referring to, further deepening the confusion. At one point, Sam even imagined that Will was about to attack him, only to realize moments later that there was no actual threat present. Megan remains one of the central villains currently dominating the street, alongside figures such as Theo Silverton, Jody Ramsey, Carl Webster, and Maggie Driscoll, with one of them set to die in the show's upcoming whodunnit storyline. As Sam's mental health continues to decline without his family fully realizing the severity of his condition, the question arises as to whether his hallucinations might ultimately push him toward taking extreme and irreversible actions. Could the eventual outcome be a tragic accident brought on by one of his visions, or might those hallucinations themselves drive him to deliberately end the life of the person who caused him so much suffering? In the end, it raises a haunting possibility. Through her relentless cruelty and manipulation, has Megan ultimately set in motion the very chain of events that could lead to her own downfall at the hands of Sam? Coronation Street spoilers have revealed the next move planned by Theo Silverton, following the moment when Todd Grimshaw finally gathered the courage to report him to the police after enduring months of sustained abuse. Although Todd has taken the brave step of speaking out against Theo and exposing the mistreatment he has suffered, it is clear that the storyline is far from reaching its conclusion, and that further drama is still to unfold. Recent episodes of Coronation Street have been particularly difficult for viewers to watch, as Theo's behavior has gradually become darker, more controlling, and increasingly disturbing over time, with the builder subjecting Todd to both physical violence and psychological torment. At one point, many fans believed that the situation had finally reached its breaking point when the couple appeared to separate last month, suggesting that Todd might finally be free from Theo's grip. However, Theo continued to exert control even after their apparent split, manipulating the situation to his advantage and drawing Todd back into the relationship, turning the breakup itself into just another calculated move within his pattern of abuse. The storyline then took an even more shocking and unexpected turn when the pair suddenly got married only days later, after Theo orchestrated a surprise wedding that left Todd feeling completely trapped and without any real choice but to go along with it. Feeling cornered and emotionally pressured, Todd ultimately said, "I do," despite the situation causing deep concern among his friends and family, especially when the newly married couple returned to the Rovers to celebrate the occasion. It soon became apparent that the troubling behavior had not stopped, as George Shuttleworth personally overheard some of the cruel and degrading remarks Theo directed toward Todd.